Hello everyone. I found a video that has in order all of the space shuttle missions ever launched. So we're gonna watch that together, and I'm gonna pause it a couple different times um, in the video. Once in 1986 with the launch of the Challenger space shuttle, and then again in 2003 with the Columbia space shuttle, and I'll explain why I'm pausing it there when we get there. What you'll see here is the letters STS before a number, and STS just means Space Transportation System. So they called each launch STS and then a number, the number of the launch. And that's not to be confused with the names of the crafts themselves. We actually built six space shuttles: Enterprise, Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour, and they each flew multiple times in these missions, with the exception of Space Shuttle Enterprise. That was the first one built, and we modified a Boeing airplane in 1976. So that particular craft never went to space. It was used more um, to perform different landing scenarios, and it was kind of a test for how they would actually land and lift off, and never actually went into space. So Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, and Endeavour are those five crafts that actually did make it to space. So I'm going to take my face away here and we'll watch, and then I will pause when we get to 1986.
Minus 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. We have a go for main engine start. 6. We have main engine ignition. 2, 1, 0, and liftoff. Liftoff of the first operational space shuttle mission with 2 satellites on board, and the shuttle has cleared the tower.
Okay, so in 1986, January 28th, 1986, the Challenger space shuttle took off. And what was unique about this particular mission was that it was the first time a civilian went up with the astronauts, and that civilian happened to be a teacher. Her name was Krista McAuliffe, and she was a social studies teacher from New Hampshire. And the program actually put out an offer to teachers to fill out an application, and one would be selected to actually go up into space and teach a couple lessons from space. So Krista McAuliffe was the winner of 11,000 applicants that were returned, and so she was on this particular flight while her class watched the launch, and her parents were in the stands watching the launch. And this is the one that actually blew up 76 seconds after launch. It was determined later that it was a faulty O-ring that caused all of the problems because of the temperature that morning. Full disclosure, I was a fourth or fifth grader at the time. I do recall very vividly faking an illness that day and staying home um, so I could watch the launch live because I was a science geek even back then. And so, as an elementary kid, I was on the couch watching this happen, and I did see it actually explode live, and it was very, very scary, really chaotic. The reporters didn't quite know what was going on, but it was very obvious it was terrible because we saw the craft go up and then the craft go in lots of different directions with nothing continuing on forward. It was a horrible day in our nation's history, and a lot of people saw it live. So it's worth noting this was the first of the space shuttle tragedies. So we'll watch that here. You can see there that there's nothing that's going up. It just kind of went out in all directions.
We've grown used to wonders in this century. It's hard to dazzle us. We've grown used to the idea of space, and perhaps we forget that we've only just begun. We're still pioneers. They, the members of the Challenger crew, were pioneers.
The teacher right there.
The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave. Congratulations on an outstanding rendezvous and historical docking with Mir.
and here is the other mission I wanted to pause on. Space Shuttle Columbia on February 1st of 2003. This particular shuttle had 7 astronauts aboard, and they completed their mission. They went up into space and they did everything that they needed to do. They were up there for a couple weeks, and their craft actually blew apart upon re-entry into our atmosphere. So they were almost home when that happened. And that was the second of the shuttle disasters. And we've had um, major disasters in our NASA history, the first being Apollo 1, those 3 astronauts that died in a routine test on the launch pad. And then these other 2. There's been other casualties. Most of them are from the ground crew. Can imagine that the launch pad is a very dangerous place to work. But those 3, I just wanted to highlight those 3: the Apollo 1, the Challenger in 1986, and this one in this Columbia Space Shuttle in 2003. Were 3 very significant disasters. And actually, after this one, everything was kind of put on hold for a couple years anyway. And then the shuttle missions actually ended in 2011. But we'll finish watching this.
Flight controllers here, Mission Control, have declared a contingency as communications was lost with the Space Shuttle Columbia during its descent from orbit at an altitude of approximately 200,000 feet. Landing gear down and locked. Main gear touchdown. Hurley now deploying the drag chute.
After serving the world for over 30 years, the Space Shuttle earned its place in history. It's come to a final stop.
All right, so that I hope gave you a little bit of insight to how important our space shuttle missions have been. In particular, to be able to assemble, actually, bring people up and assemble and bring the Hubble Space Telescope up and work on the International Space Station, which will be the next thing and the last thing that we talk about in our Space Exploration Unit. So until next time, be well. Talk to you soon.